Hey everyone, I'm David from CodeCargo, and today I'm going to talk about how our automatic service catalog makes it easier to onboard developers to your software applications, teams, and just your company in general. So we've all been there. We get a job, we join a new team, and we need to understand the code base. We'll talk to our teammates and they'll say, read the Confluence docs, there's a readme.markdown file. Just dive into the code, you'll figure it out. Doing this is fine, but it takes a ton of time. And you may end up becoming an expert on things that really aren't useful. You may end up missing things, and you have to go back again and again and again to repeat that. CodeCargo's automatic service catalog uses machine learning, Gen AI, and just regular good old code to identify your services, pipelines, contributors, and more in your GitHub repos. Our platform then infers relationships so our users can easily see how everything is related. Now, let's pretend that you're a new developer working on an application defined in this project that we're looking at here, and let's just take a look and see what's there. So right now, we're a new developer, we're looking at this project. And a project in CodeCargo is just a collection of repos, and it's pretty normal for a developer to work on a team that has multiple repos. So right now, we can see that we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different repositories in this project. And we can then start to see, well, what's there? So in this repo, we have some TypeScript code, we have YAML pipelines, we have GitHub pipelines, we actually have some Azure DevOps, and then we can see there's a dependency to this pipeline context tiny that has a bunch of GitHub Actions workflows. We can see the React admin panel repo has an Azure DevOps pipeline, more JavaScript code, and now we're starting to get an understanding of what's there. We see there's this project is really workflow heavy. There's maybe a few services, but the point is it's mostly pipelines. So we've gotten the high level view. Let's take a look at the services. We are correct. We zoom out and there's basically one service in each of these 3 repositories. Let's go add in the CI/CD pipelines as well. And now we're kind of back to that view that we had before. So very quickly, in the last minute, we've been able to see, okay, yes, we have several different repos here, but there's only really 2 services, and the majority that we have here is pipelines. So now, if I'm going to spend the next hour researching things and doing a deep dive into code, I know where those services are, I know where those pipelines are, and I generally know how they relate. Let's do something a little bit more complicated. So this is one of our AutoGen service catalogs for something slightly more complex. So we take a look, and there's way more services. We can see right there we've got the filter for services on. So we see that we've got a bunch of repos. We've got 8 services here, 9. We actually have quite a bit here. They're not dependent on each other, which is useful information to know. But now let's say that I'm coming in and my responsibility is more on the GitHub Actions side of the house. Well, I can see there's a ton of Jenkins in here. There's a ton of Azure DevOps. Here's where the services are for GitHub Actions. So let's take a look. What is there? Let's look at the pipelines. So let's add in, we'll go from services to bring in the pipelines. And oh my, things just got really complicated. Let's try and understand what's there, because I imagine if I just dove into the code right now, things would be tough. So let's zoom into here, and this is the AKS store demo repository. So we can see all these relationships between things. So let's look for a pipeline here. Here's a GitHub pipeline. So we can see this is an end-to-end test PR pipeline, and this is actually what it deploys. Let's zoom out a little bit. So this pipeline deploys all of those different things. Awesome. Now we're starting to understand what's the actual structure look like beneath all the stuff in here. We can go into here in the eShop GitHub Actions, and presumably there's a bunch of GitHub Actions. We can see those pipelines like right there, but we can also see the CI build test is deploying all of those things. We can go to Azure DevOps, and yes, we can handle Azure DevOps pipelines, we can handle Jenkins, we can handle GitHub Actions. But we're really starting to see how are these things actually related, right? So I said before, maybe my job is GitHub Actions, but also maybe my job that I've been tasked with is we've got a bunch of Azure DevOps pipelines, and I'm the one who's responsible for migrating them. So I can go right here and I can very clearly see these are the Azure DevOps pipelines. This is what's here. And now that I have the knowledge of this is the repo that they're in, these are the different apps, these are different services, these are the different pipelines, I can now actually go in and see, okay, here's my deployment pipeline. Where's this thing located? Bam, there's the path, there's the maintainer, it's an ADO pipeline, and this deploys things to production. So we give your developers a lot of information up front so that they can actually go spend maybe an hour or two or talk with our AI to figure out what is this stuff actually doing. And this is really just the tip of the iceberg when it comes to our service catalog. But I did want to show how do we help developers onboard faster? How do we give them actionable intelligence to start learning what's there? Thank you so much for watching. If you've got any questions, please reach out to us on codecargo.com. Otherwise, have a great day. Thank you very much.